My gosh, dude. Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you don't know this already, my name is Ethan Preston. I'm your host here at Preston Outdoors. Let me turn the motor off so hopefully you can hear me. I'm gonna be fishing with Connor Christensen today. We're meeting him at the ramp and we're gonna do some fishing. But I'm gonna try and get my best and break down the water that we're going through. Some of the videos you've seen before were probably pre-spawn and spawning videos. Some of them were post-spawn, but this is going to be a heavy post-spawn fishing video we got going on right here. Water temperature right now, it says 74, 75 degrees. Probably the first couple weeks after, get this out here so we don't blow in somewhere. This is probably the first couple weeks after the heavy spawning action in the north here in Minnesota and North Dakota, basically, the two states I fish a lot. The major spawn is probably over, but what we're gonna do out here is we're gonna go plink and plunk around, fish some offshore stuff and go shallow. So you're gonna have two dividends of fish predominantly. Some fish are gonna pull off deep and that's where they're gonna want to hang out in the summer. And then some fish, the ones I like to target, are your residential shallow fish. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna run, pick up Connor, and we're gonna try and catch some fish, and I'm gonna break down for you if some voice overlay or something like that, kind of like what I've done in the last few videos, so that way you can go to your local lake and hopefully repeat the process and catch some fish. Connor's hooked up.
70-degree water, first offshore bite of the year. Just a little guy.
He's fat though. Been eating.
Yeah, throwing the drop shot. Just a little finesse shot from Z-Man.
Lead line, and those are my targeted areas that Dan and I fish for that tournament. Oh, Connor.
Thought I was in the weeds.
Dude, I saw you just pull on him like he sat on it with his mouth open. Big in?
Oh. Second big fish of the day.
Look at that.
That's a good 4-pounder probably right there.
What?
On that little finesse shot, we saw a point on the map, so we came over here scanning gill beds all around on the weed edge, so we're kind of just figuring out where the gills are out here, and as I was dragging across the gill bed, that fish bit. 4-pound, 4-ounce largemouth. Heading right back down. Let's go.
So Connor, he told you about it here. We just put that big one back. I'll show you. I should have recorded that scanning over, but what we got going on here, we've got a depth highlight on, kind of just guessing of where the gill beds would be at. Fishing offshore, this is only the third spot we've checked, but there's been bait on each one. But the problem is there isn't beds. So what we did is we scanned every one of these blue dots. From here to here is a giant gill bed or gill colony that's been bedding. There's also a little bit of rock and rubble off this drop off. So the bass will come up here and spawn too. It's like 5-6 feet up here. But now that it's the bluegill's turn to spawn, and so the bluegill's been terrorizing the bass the whole time for the bass spawn. So now it's the bass's turn to feed up and get their redemption. So after catching a couple fish out deep and Connor just catching that big one there, we really thought we were on a pattern, but I think we were a little bit early for the offshore bite, targeting those offshore bluegill beds. So what we ended up doing is, again, working our way backwards and moving into shallower, muddy bays where we figured bass had spawned and we were wondering if they had left or not. driving back in there and finding the amount of bluegills that were surfacing and fish that were just jumping in general, pike and bass, we figured that the fish, because we had some cold weather and it was just kind of a funky spring, early summer, the bass hadn't really left those shallow water bays that would normally be almost 80 degrees by the time we got there this time of year. So we ended up going back in there and fishing topwater to see how active those fish were, and we found a pretty good deal back in there. Biggest one on topwater so far. Slurp that. Nom nom nom.
You said you had to put it on the trailer?
Yeah, to leave the lake. To leave lake.
That's gotta be a better one. That is huge.
Look what it ate. Don't say it. Oh my gosh, dude. We were just thinking about making a transition back out deep. That is post-spawn beefcake. I switched it up. My blitz frog got all smushed up, so I tried to buy this frog off a guy off Instagram. Little rainbow action frog. Just smoked it. 4 pounds, 11 ounces. That is all post-spawn bluegills getting munched. There we go. Almost 5 pounder, 411. In these back bays, the strategy that we used was actually pretty simple. Throwing your frog along the lily pad edges or back into the lily pads a little ways, working them across the edges. And the topwater bite was really good. But it even got better when the sun started going down. The topwater activity started heating up. Bluegills were popping on top, bass were eating bluegills, that kind of thing. We found our spot where there was a little bit shallower, and the technique or the way the fish were actually eating the frog was actually what we called sharking, where they would explode from the left, from the right, or behind the bait, and you could see their dorsal fin out of the water, or they were creating a wake running up right behind your frog. If you would pause it, or Connor would actively twitch it and panic twitch it, speeding it up, they would just come up behind it and suck it down. They were actively feeding chased wounded bait fish on the top, and our frog was a perfect presentation for that. Came exploding out of the lily pads. Then I did what you did, and I panicked and twitched it farther and went, just sucked it down. So good. Right. That's a better one. Look at that.
Look at that frog. Ruined. Grassy post-spawn large.
Look how fat that thing is. That's a perfect one to end the video on, dude.
Yeah. Little 2 pounder, just chunky.
Look how fat that thing is. Show them the belly.
There's got to be a gill in there.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're going to end the video on Connor's hog there. But like again, like I mentioned this in the video before, Connor and I came out here post-spawn. He's fished it a little bit, he told me. We really didn't know what going into it, and it wasn't even as good as the time that he fished it before. But what we did is we worked backwards. We showed you and talked about videos in the past where you know where the fish are going. Like during the post or pre-spawn or spawn, you know where the fish are going. They're going shallow. Now we know where the fish are trying to transition to. They're trying to transition to the deeper humps, weed lines, rock piles, whatever you have in your lake. They're trying to transition there. So we went out and checked there first. Connor caught a couple that were there, probably the first wave of spawn. Now we're working our way backwards. Now back in here in this thick, nasty stuff, we're probably, Jesus. That was close to my head.
Yeah.
God. Okay, anyway. About getting your head taken off by an incoming frog kind of messes with your mind, but we're moving in reverse basically. We know where they're going. We're going out deep, so we are moving backwards. We fished some mid area stuff, but now we're kind of back where these fish probably came up here and spawned at. Water temperature, what's it say up there? 74? 74, 75 degrees. These fish have already been spawned out, but there is some fish in here before they move off deep, before that water temperature gets in the 80s. They're in here eating. So these fish are feeding up, and then they're gonna make their migration out deeper. We're gonna have hot weather, 98, 96, 100-degree weather. That's really gonna raise this. Shallow water, we're in like 2 to 3 feet of water here. It's gonna raise this water temperature up. Weeds are gonna get super thick in here, and the fish are gonna kind of move out of here until making their fall transition back in here. So hope you learned something. If you guys haven't already, go check out CC Outdoors on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all that stuff. Connor, that's his social media pages. So there's Connor, catch another one. Check his social medias out. Comment on a video, or comment some ideas. Some of you like these videos. Again, we're giving more information in these videos instead of just highlight fish catches, because everybody does that on YouTube. I'm going to try and talk you through what we're going through, the transition we did today from going deep to shallow and kind of working in reverse. So thanks for watching. Tune in next time too.
CC Outdoors.
Preston Outdoors.